If your husband is a good guy, but you're ready for divorce, you're not a bad person. So don't let guilt get the best of you.
You're not doing him any favors by staying.
This woman is not committed to protecting you. She's not your shield. In fact, she might be the one holding the dagger.
He's good.
So be very careful. I strongly suggest avoid her counsel altogether.
The video that I have for you guys here today is next level, but it's a conversation that is necessary that we encroach on this platform, all right? What we're going to talk about today is one of the many reasons that relationships or just household in general just fall apart, or a man checks out of a relationship. And that's due to one simple, powerful word, and that word is respect. When respect leaves the home, everything else begins to crumble, because respect is our foundation as men. We've got Mr. Jason Wilson himself up here today to help break this concept down for us, to help us understand how to navigate through this issue as men being the leaders of our households, because inevitably, a man who is respected can lead effectively, and a woman who feels secure in that respect will naturally bring peace and cooperation to the home. So go get y'all notepads. Let's get ready to get active as well as learn together, because this is fantastic information. Without further ado.
Shalom, my brothers. I truly pray all is well with you and your families. Today, I want to address something that corrodes the very foundation of countless homes: disrespect from the woman a man loves. For years, we've been told that women need love and men need respect, as if the Creator Most High divided these essentials between genders. That's complete nonsense. Both love and respect are oxygen for the human soul. One cannot flourish where the other is withheld. But here's the tragedy, my brothers. Many men have conditioned or have been conditioned to endure the slow suffocation of being disrespected by the woman he loves. Instead of confronting the decay, he buries it under silence. He convinces himself that peace is maintained by avoidance. But avoidance is not peace, my brothers. It's actually paralysis. And so the man retreats, sometimes physically, after the children are grown and the house is empty. He files for divorce with the same calmness he once used to suppress his pain and disappointment. Other times he never leaves at all. He just checks out. He numbs himself with alcohol, drugs, or the hollow comfort of artificial intimacy. And at the core of it all is fear. Not fear of confrontation in a physical sense, but fear of exposure. And what I mean by that, the terror of admitting that his wife's tone, her words, her disregard actually wounds him emotionally.
What's interesting is that in modern times, this fear of exposure is not even just like a mental inability, but it can also manifest in reality through usage of the social medias. The ability to utilize, let's say, a TikTok as a form of therapy, or to weaponize your experience with the man that you were in a relationship with while garnering attention, validation, and as well as an audience of other women who identify with that story through their own mishaps within their own relationships, is something that we've never experienced before. Men today don't have access to the amount of avenues that women have to discuss this. So oftentimes they will suffer in silence, slowly having his standards eroded, and his current behavior represents only a shell of his former self, even if he was a perfect husband.
If your husband is a good guy, but you're ready for divorce, you're not a bad person. So don't let guilt get the best of you.
You're not doing him any favors by staying.
Because deep down, he's been taught, like every man, that a man who feels pain is weak, even physical pain. We're taught young that no pain, no gain. But somewhere inside of us, we know that's a lie. We see it play out in sports. If your star athlete, or just say quarterback, tears his ACL, you don't throw him back in the game. You take him out of the game until he can rehab. But for some reason, we've allowed this world to define us as men, and as a result, many of us have lost our lives. But the truth is, my brothers, it's that this stoicism or this silence doesn't make you strong. It actually makes you disappear. A man must learn to speak, not with aggression, but with assertiveness and authority. Not with pride, but with presence. Because until you confront the disrespect that devalues you, you'll keep living beneath the weight of what you refuse to face. And what makes it all worse is the misleading mantras you've been conditioned your whole life to believe. Never let her see you sweat. Happy wife, happy life. That's the classic. Or the one that we often miss, but subconsciously hits us, is when we hear our wives or the woman in our lives referred to as the better half.
It's actually fascinating if you go through like all of these different kind of societal or cultural tropes as they refer to a man versus a woman in a relationship. And I say versus strategically because oftentimes these different cultural tropes, they're in competition of. And it also plays into some of the representations of men. I grew up during the 90s where it was normal place to see man, husband, stupid up on TV. Shout out to Al Bundy or like Homer Simpson. But I actually think it stems from a cultural overcorrection, which then has bled into how we function within a relationship. And that shows up in the form as emotional comfort as a top priority. So you are unwilling to hold accountable as much, or you feel way more bad in doing so. So instead, you continue to kick the can. You will avoid confrontation in your effort to crave peace. But at the end of the day, if that peace comes at the expense of accountability or respect, then it's not worth it.
Men, you've been sold mantras that sound noble, but are actually poison because they make you believe your thoughts and your feelings don't matter in marriage or a relationship. And if you believe that long enough, you will start living like it. The Bible says there's nothing worse than living in a house with a contentious woman.
Ooh.
And I like to add, there's nothing worse than having to check your heart out of the home you live in. That slow emotional withdrawal, that quiet erosion of connection happens when a woman's dominance or disrespect become the atmosphere of your home. And a man convinces himself that it's just not worth the fight to confront that behavior. Well, my brothers, you have to understand that peace is not the absence of conflict. That's actually passivity. Solitude in your home comes from addressing what needs to be addressed so that resentment doesn't become the new foundation of your relationship. I can't count many times that Nicole and I would have conflict, and it's because I was offended or she was offended by something we either said, but we chose to stop sweeping our issues under the rug, to confront things head on. And as a man, I can't tolerate disrespect, especially from the ones that I love. And what honor is it to have respect outside of your home, but when you come home, you feel disrespected and even dishonored.
Yeah.
This is why it's imperative as men that we speak up when we feel disrespected.
Quick emergency meeting. I was recently searching for my name online and found way too much personal information, which brought me down this weird rabbit hole of how that could have happened, and found out that there's companies out there called data brokers that will sell your data to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. And it's a nasty, disgusting feeling knowing that there's bad actors out there selling my information, selling your information for profit. But that's why I'm recommending today's sponsor, Aura. Now, I use Aura to automatically remove my information from these sites and keep my information off. But they do other things as well, such as bank fraud and identity theft alerts, VPN access. But guys, utilize my link down in the description box down below for a 14-day trial. At least see if you've been compromised. Privacy is king in this day and age, and you should know if your information is out there. So again, utilize my link, aura.com/MTR, in the description box down below to try 2 weeks free. That's way more than enough time to see if your personal data has been exposed. Go now. These are the lessons that men need to hear early and often, especially if they're going to get themselves within a relationship, because there's something about the slow erosion of your boundaries or your structure over time that many men can fall into, especially if, like, let's say you lose contact with like some of your friends, and right, you don't interface with other men about your situation or your environment within your relationship, in order to give yourself like a little gut check to see, of the things that are happening, are these normal things? It's super easy to spot overtly disrespectful things, right? And we often refer to this as like shit test if you're beginning to date a young lady. But that's not the ones that we're talking about. It's the slow erosion. You recognize it, but you don't want the conflict, so you let it go. You don't say anything. Mr. Jason Wilson actually said this on a previous video. He said, if she never feels the consequences for crossing the line, why would she ever stop? Correction is love. Yet silence is not.
I disrespected my husband and I didn't even know it. My husband is the sole provider in our home. This is how he wants it to be. And we were in a financial bind at one point in time. I found that we needed something in the home, and I knew that he was already stressed out. Instead of me telling him what the problem was, telling him what we needed, I decided to take it upon myself and figure it out for him. That way he wouldn't have to stress, he wouldn't have to worry, and it would be handled. Fast forward, my husband and I are having a conversation, and that's when he lets me know, well, babe, if you truly respected me, you wouldn't have done that. I thought to myself, wow, I didn't realize I was disrespecting him. The way that he explained it was that if I truly respected him, I would have allowed him to show up and be the husband that he needed to be. I would have allowed him to show up and to solve this problem that we had as a family. Where I thought I was protecting his feelings and trying to ease his burden, I was actually disrespecting him. He had to remind me that men are very solution focused. Men see a problem, they want to solve it. That is a part of their role as husbands in our lives. Moving forward, if I had any problem, no matter what I thought he was going through, I had to respect him by allowing him to show up for me. Sometimes as wives, we unintentionally disrespect our husbands without realizing it. Just because it is not blatant, it doesn't mean that it's not diminishing.
This is exactly what I mean about the slow erosion. And sometimes that erosion, it's not even their intention. They may not be able to see it from your perspective, and it's fine. If this young lady's husband kicked the can down the road, well, then the building blocks would just continue to stack. And then the resentment would continue to multiply on itself. It is refreshing to see marriageable women, well, I guess she's not marriageable because she's already picked, but marriage-minded women begin to communicate what she realized.
And here are 8 action steps you can take to resolve disrespect from your wife or the woman in your life. And this also can apply to your own children in your home. Action step number 1, decide if it's worth the fight. When I say fight, I'm not talking about shouting matches or physical altercations. I'm talking about the willingness to engage, to confront, or even when you know your wife may get upset, even cry, or react strongly, you still speak the issue. You can't continue, my brother, to allow the fear of her reaction keep you from having the conversation. But before you step into this, you need to decide, is this relationship worth the effort? Now, if you're married, it's definitely worth it. If you're not married, you need to examine and really think through, is this relationship worth saving, or is all of this conflict actually a sign from the Most High that I need to escape this before I can commit to something that could be detrimental to my life and, more importantly, His will for my life? If the answer is yes, that it is worth it, and you want to give it another honest try, then it's time for you to take this next step.
This is actually the stage where a lot of us men kind of falter at, but through the, how do I say this? Like modernness of today, women actually allow this stage, and we like to call this situationship, right? You have maybe decided or don't want to really sit down and consider how much this relationship, if it's worth saving or what have you. So then you get into a situation, months, if not years go by, and typically situationships only upgrade to relationships in probably 0.5% of cases.
Action step number 2, deal with you. Before you point the finger, my brother, you have to turn the hand around. Ask yourself, why did I let this go on for so long? What caused you, my brother, to sweep so many issues under the relationship rug? Was it fear of conflict? Was it a belief planted early in life that women can't be trusted with your emotions or your thoughts? I remember a brother once telling me, never give a woman your heart, not even your wife. And when I told my father actually that I wanted to marry Nicole, his first words were, why in the hell would you want to do that? When you grow up, my brothers, hearing lies and negativity like that, they create patterns in your brain. You start believing women are not safe spaces for you to be transparent with or transparent in. And so even when your heart is aching and your mind is ready to check out of the relationship, you bite your tongue, thinking that's the manly thing to do. That's not manhood, that's emotional incarceration. Action step number 3, change your perspective on peace. If you equate peace with avoiding conflict, you will lose your voice in your home and in life. Every time you don't speak up, you give up, not just your worth, but your peace of mind. Peace without truth is compromise. It's just quiet oppression. To maintain peace in your relationship, you have to be willing to call out disrespect every time. That doesn't mean, my brothers, that you call out small annoyances. Please understand that will wear your wife or the woman in your life down.
Walking on eggshells.
Imagine if everything you did, there was always a complaint or a judgment. We can't operate in that space either. But it does mean refusing to allow a pattern of behavior that erodes the foundation of love and respect.
I know that the majority of both of our audiences are men, but this is something that women need to also hear as well, within an understanding that constant nagging doesn't solve anything. Nobody wants to be walking on eggshells, but it is important to address things and or behaviors that you think will not reflect well into the future. If she's doing something that makes you question how she will act when there is a child involved in your relationship, well, then that is something that you should absolutely address. Be strategic, not emotional. Let's proceed.
Action step number 4, control your emotions in conflict. This is where a lot of men lose the battle. You have a valid point. You rehearsed it in your head. You're ready to bring it up, but then the emotions rise. You start raising your voice. You start to get sarcastic. You start swinging your words like you're wielding a sword instead of building your case like a lawyer. And now instead of having to address her behavior, you're the one apologizing for how you communicated to her about her offense against you. My brothers, hear me. You must have resolve to resolve conflict. Your composure is your credibility. The moment you lose it, you hand over the moral high ground. Action step number 5, set the standard and keep it. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are guardrails for respect. When you communicate your boundary calmly, clearly, and consistently, and then reinforce it with action, you teach the other person how to treat you. Always remember, a standard that's never enforced is truly just a suggestion. Action step number 6, invite her into the solution. One mistake men make is treating their wives like adversaries in these conversations or conflicts. Remember, if the relationship is worth fighting for, she's not the enemy. The disrespect is. After addressing the behavior, invite her into a conversation about how both of you can show more respect toward each other. Let her see that this is not just about you being heard. It's about building a relationship where both of you can feel valued and safe. Action step number 7, know when to seek help. If you've addressed this issue multiple times and there's no change, it may be time to bring in a counselor, a mentor, a therapist, or a spiritual advisor, not as a punishment, but as a step toward exposing lies, accepting truth, and fostering healing. Sometimes the behavioral patterns go too deep for the two of you to work through them alone. And action step number 8.
Here's the thing. I don't know if I agree with that last one. I don't disagree that perhaps a trained third party could be beneficial or valuable to helping to rectify the situation. But as a man, if you address something and you still see a consistency of that behavior in the opposite direction, albeit following all of these great action steps that he said before that, and for some reason there is an inability for her to hear you or to accept it, or you've just waited too long where now this bad behavior is a part of her normal place, then I don't understand why you continue to be in a relationship with somebody who continues to disrespect your boundaries. But perhaps he's talking about at the point of marriage, which in that case, it's a business equation, all right? Will the cost and the potential investment into a mentor, a coach, a therapist give you a return on that investment? And what is the return on that investment? And if you don't get it, what are the risks? And then what is the potential cost to you? Time away from your children, or a 50% of your stuff being taken away. Step 7 makes a lot more sense if you are already in a marriage. Nevertheless, let's keep going.
Don't go to Delilah.
Uh-oh.
When a man is disrespected long enough in his own home, frustration starts whispering to him. That whisper sounds like
a harpy.
Find someone who will listen to you, bro. Find someone who will understand. You know who she is, dog. Go ahead and holler at her. She already is interested in hearing everything you got to say.
She want that dick.
This is exactly where Samson failed, my brothers. In Judges chapter 16, it tells us that Samson gave Delilah access to the deepest parts of his heart. And once she had that access, she weaponized it against him. It cost him his strength, his freedom, and eventually his life. Today, far too many men do the same thing emotionally. When men feel unseen by their wives, they open up to another woman, a coworker. She could be a friend. Actually, I don't even really believe in that concept unless your wife approves of her. She could also be someone online that you just communicate with, maybe via direct messages. But you have to be very careful because Satan appears as an angel of light, as it is written, but we know he is not. She seems to understand. She seems to care. Sometimes she may even seem like she's a Christian.
She want what that woman want.
But that right there, my brother, should expose her if you're a married man. And here's also the problem. I actually think this is the problem that many men get tripped up on.
Okay.
This woman is not committed to protecting you. She's not your shield. In fact, she might be the one holding the dagger.
He's good.
So be very careful. I strongly suggest avoid her counsel altogether. And if you need to talk to someone besides a therapist, counselor, or pastor, call on one of your friends, your brothers. Someone who you know will give you their ear as you have given yours to them many times.
It's such a good point. And the way that he articulates it is just genius, right? And this is actually part of the argument towards, you know, once you start building something within your life and you have something that's worthy of losing, you only want people around you that either A, and this doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, have stuff to lose themselves, or B, have a vested interest in your success. This is an argument for long-term relationships, if not an argument for marriage, within the sense of that Delilah may be incentivized by much different ways. Maybe she just wants what the other woman has right now. Maybe she wants to do it because she wants something up on that other woman, right? Or wants to know information that no one else knows, or to have something against you so that she can get something that she truly wants, all right? You guys would be amazed at some of the stories that I come across in my emails, including blackmail. Let's finish up.
In closing, my brothers, I want you to understand that respect is not something you beg for. It's something you become. I don't fight for respect. It's either going to be there or I'm not.
All right. Let me pause the content right here. Shout out again to Mr. Jason Wilson. Let's give this brother a round of applause as we get up out of here. So many fascinating things that he talked about within the confines of this. And I think, you know, having these real discussions as they refer to, respect, what a man should be tolerating, right? The difference between, being in control versus really describing the behaviors of what it takes to be a respected man, right? Like, these are the conversations that we all need to become. Just talking through the behavior sets of like what it takes to be a well-respected man is just, it's so necessary within this generation, especially. I was just, a couple of days ago, I was at a bar and I was talking to this one guy. It was like random. We just started talking in a conversation. And this dude was talking about how his baby mom recently was released from prison, and she went to prison because she beat him. I said, what? It's not funny. I don't mean to be laughing, but needless to say, I had to have a conversation with him about respect in the middle of that. And it's just it's wild to me to understand what men out there are tolerating, all the way from the erosion of respect to just flat out violence. For the ladies that are watching this right now, understand, right? There's probably like 42 of y'all in total, right? A man that leads with order and respect isn't trying to overpower you. He's trying to protect you from what you both have been built and keep you within that structure. And for men, don't let the fear of conflict make you so passive, because if you do, you'll fall into those old tropes of she's being your better half and all that other modern bullshit. But respect itself starts with yourself and carrying the tone, setting it up front, and then carrying it through the life of that relationship, being able to hold your boundaries and always leading with integrity. All right, guys, shout out again to Mr. Jason Wilson. Link to the video down in the description box down below. Make sure you go over there and show love to the content, to the knowledge, all right, to the motivation. Let me know what you guys think down up in the comment box down below. I appreciate you for rocking with me within this discussion here today. And if anything, I will see you soon. Shout out to Aura for sponsoring this video as well. All right. Until next time. Peace.
So without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound when it's MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.